welcome back to Per My Last Email, video number 2 of Apply for the PMP playlist. One more video to go, but you made it to video 2, so hopefully in video 1, I convinced you to apply. If you are really serious about taking this test and you have overcome the fear and self-doubt of whether or not you're capable of passing, capable of doing such an amazing feat, and you have decided to move forward, that's major. That's major. Don't discount that. Like, every small step that gets you closer to your goal matters. And so I'm proud of you for just being ready to take it. So we're going to take it to the next step, the application process. There are a few things that you need. If you're going to take this test, you have to meet one of 2 criteria. Either you have a 4-year degree, 3 years of experience leading projects, and 35 hours of project management education or training, or you have a high school diploma, associate's degree, or the global equivalent, 5 years of experience leading projects, and 35 hours of project management education training. I fell into the first bucket. I had a 4-year degree and I had the years of experience, not all in a job, some in college, some with extracurricular activities. And I also took classes at my job and in school that went towards that education and training piece. I feel like people can finesse the training. You can make that work. Like, you know, if you have a degree or not. People get really discouraged about the 3,500 hours of project management experience. And I'm just here to reiterate, you think it has to be something really complex, something like you had a $100,000 budget and you did something within a 8-month time. It doesn't have to be super complex. That is not a requirement of a project. A project just has to have a start date and an end date and accomplish a goal, accomplish a task. And I know you've done that. I know you've organized a church bake sale. I know that you have volunteered for a project at your kid's school. I know that you've done something that had a start date, had an end date, required planning, had a budget, was executed and finished and done with. I know that you've done that. So stop discounting yourself and your experience. You can do this. I promise you, the second hardest part about taking the project management professionals exam is submitting the application. It's so intimidating, but I have homework for you to do tonight. The first part of the application is submitting your name and putting in your address. Do that tonight. Matter of fact, open up a tab right now and do it right now. Just put in your name, put in your address, and you're one step closer to submitting your application. I think the most freeing part about this whole process is that you don't have to pay for the test unless your application is accepted. So applying is free. You only pay if and when your application is accepted. Even when I got audited, I didn't have to pay until my application was accepted. So again, apply. If you want to go farther into your application past your name and your address, here's what some other stuff that you have to input: your contact information, phone number, email address, your education that you attained. So what school, what level, what degree, and what date that you graduated, your domain experience. That's where all of the hard stuff comes in, where it's like the details about the project, the hours, the organization details, your references, stuff. That stuff is hard. But if you skip that, the last thing that you have to put in is your domain education, which is the number of courses that you completed, institutions attended, and hours. So if you took any classes in school or you did any classes through your job, then you can put that there, and it's really easy to submit that there. So I just kind of want to focus on your domain experience for the rest of this video. The domain experience is very important, that you understand how the project management institute wants you to see a project and understand what a project is. There are 5 phases of project management. And when you submit your PMP application, the people that are reviewing your application expect you to know what those 5 areas are: initiating, planning, monitoring / controlling, executing, and closing. So initiation is the first phase. Initiation is basically when the project comes into conception. Picture like the moment where your boss is sitting in a room with a bunch of people and somebody says, "Hey, we need to fix this thing." And they're like, "Yeah, we do." That's initiation. You're still in the initiation phase when your boss's boss's boss thinks about the project, as it trickles down all the way to your boss, up until your boss says, "Hey, I think you need to be in charge of working on this project." Nothing has really been done. It's just a lot of talking, kind of putting the framework together, like, what do we want this to be? What do you think it should look like? It's just a really conceptual is in the initiation phase. In the initiation phase, there was a general understanding about the project, who the stakeholders are, who it's going to affect. And I think an initiation could honestly take a long time from the time it is first thought about. But once we're like, okay, we got what we want to do, you're the project manager, let's get this thing rolling, initiation's done. Then you move into planning. So planning is the second stage. Planning is usually your longest phase. Planning takes a lot of time. It should take a lot of time. When you read the PMP, planning just involves a lot of planning. Planning out your budget, planning out your schedule, planning out what happens if things don't go according to schedule, planning out what goes wrong, planning out if that goes wrong, what are you going to do to address it? And if that goes wrong, what are you going to do to address it? And if that goes wrong, just plan. So it takes a long time according to the PMP. This is where you have all of your meetings, your budget meetings, your meetings with stakeholders, meetings with vendors, meetings with your boss to make sure that you're still on track. You just meet and plan and meet and plan. And you plan up until about, you're like, you know what? We have a plan and a backup plan and a backup plan for that backup plan. So this project is going to be the bomb. Let's do it. Then you get to your execution phase. And execution and monitoring and controlling are kind of happening at the same time, because when you execute, you're basically doing whatever you planned in real time. You plan to have this event for the homeless in the area. It's the homeless event happening. It's 8 o'clock. The event is from 8 to 5. And while you're executing, at the same time, you're monitoring and controlling, because while you are making things happen, things are also going wrong at the same time. While things are going right, this vendor was late. So how are you gonna monitor and control that variable? You ran out of food. So how are you gonna monitor and control that? So you're executing and controlling things at the same exact time. They go back and forth. And then in the same example, if we're saying that we had this feeding the homeless event and it was from 8 to 5, now it's finally 5, you're done, you can close. But closing isn't that easy, because you have to close and tie up all the loose ends and take your pictures and send them to the newspaper so they can write a story about you and document all your findings. And it's a whole closing process, but closing is pretty much when the project is over and you kind of tie up all your loose ends. It's very important to remember that when you've done your projects in the past, it might not have been in this same format, in this very strict initiating planning. It might not have been exactly like that, but when you submit your PMP application, it's best to kind of format your project in that way so that the people that read your application know that you understand the way that they are going to teach you how to do project management. So it might not be exact to what you remember, but just try to remember to put it in that similar kind of format on the application, just to make sure that you get accepted as easily as possible. So if you format your application in this way, you have a really good chance of being accepted. This is video 2. In the next video, I'm going to get into the very gory, boring details about how to submit every single line of your application. But it's necessary. I wish somebody would have done this for me. I wish I would have known how specific to get. So stay tuned to my next video. If you have questions in the meantime, send me an email at briajwilliams99@gmail.com. And I'll see you in video 3.